Welcome to Bachelor Party, presented by Cape Line. I'm Juliette Littman. It's a truly momentous day here in the studio. I am joined by the one and only Chris Harrison. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, too.
You got me to do something I never do.
What's that?
I came into Los Angeles.
So you live in the valley, right?
No, I live further out than that.
Oh, wow.
I guess it is technically a valley, but it's not the San Fernando Valley.
How long was your commute here?
An hour.
It's 10:30. Yeah, that's not really prime commuting time.
There's no such thing as prime commuting time. But I stay out of LA.
Okay.
I don't come to this city. It drives me crazy. I don't love it.
Did you ever live in the city?
No.
Never.
No, I'm not a West Side guy. I don't love Los Angeles.
Interesting. Well,
I live out in the sticks, not too far, honestly, from the Bachelor Mansion.
That's in Agoura Hills, not in Malibu, as I like to point out very often.
We like to say it's Malibu adjacent.
It is. Well, it is Malibu adjacent.
It's very Malibu adjacent.
It's almost there.
If you crane your neck high enough to the right, you can kind of see Malibu. But yeah, I live out there. I live in the hills, and I love it.
Oh,
lovely. I grew up in Texas, so I need space.
Right.
I don't like people.
That's not true. You have to like people for your job.
I'm a people person, but I get enough people at work that I need my space. I like to know my neighbors and the simple life.
Well, thank you for coming. It's a true delight. I just feel like there's like so much to talk about. There is
a lot.
I don't really know where we're going to begin, but we'll just keep it easy and we'll talk about
Hannah.
Well,
since I've walked in, we've talked the Rewatchables podcast.
Yes,
we've talked sports. We've talked rom-com. So we have a lot of ways to go.
It's true. Let's start with Hannah.
Should we talk about The Bachelor? No. Bachelorette?
We can.
Okay, let's dabble in that and then we'll go off.
Great. Perfect. You're hosting. Just want to point out.
It's
like you get to a microphone and you can't not host. I like it. Thank you very much.
I am not good being interviewed.
Well, thank you all the more for coming.
Not a good patient.
So you just got back from filming, from production.
Yeah, we just wrapped up. The Bachelorette's always very interesting because of the timing. The Bachelor, we try to give our post-production time for the holidays. We wrap up around Thanksgiving. We give them Thanksgiving. Technically, we try to give them Christmas and New Year's. We don't because ABC will end up ordering 50 more hours of TV and they work overtime through the holidays anyway. But the idea is they get the holidays off. We always premiere the first Monday in January.
Which this year was January 1st was a Monday, I think.
And so that's why we have that break. The Bachelorette, you don't need that break. There's no holidays and we roll right into it. And the timing is just tough because The Bachelor's ending. We need a little time for it to end. We can name our Bachelorette. Logistically, it is brutal, and we roll right in, and we are just wrapping up the show, and it's already on the air.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I think it got pushed up 2 weeks on air this year.
It did.
Do you know why?
ABC is ordering more hours. I mean,
amazing.
the show, there is this insatiable appetite, and the show does so well for them. The ratings are so huge. It's, I don't know, maybe we'll get to some point of diminishing returns with the numbers and the revenue that they pull in, but so far they haven't reached that. And so the reason we did that special, the reunion special, was they wanted to back it up 2 weeks. We just couldn't be on the air in time. We were still in the middle of taping the show.
Yeah, you were in production when that aired.
So I think the middle ground was let's create a special where we will kind of introduce Hannah, but we're going to make it more about our Bachelorettes. And it worked out that it was the 15th anniversary of the show.
Yeah, it was. I really enjoyed it. It was like fun to go back. And for you, so there were, including Hannah, there were 12 of 15 Bachelorettes there. What's it like for you? You're the constant. You're the only thing in this show that has not changed.
Right.
You and Mike Fleiss, basically, since the beginning. And so what's it like to go back and have both Trista and Becca in the same house?
Yeah, there's Mike, obviously the creator of the show, myself. There's a woman named Nicole Woods, who's now an executive producer. And
cool. Congratulations to her.
Martin Hilton has been there since day one, who's the president of the company as well. So there's like a handful of us that have been there since day one. I'm the only one and Mike in our same jobs. Everybody else obviously has come through the ranks.
I've heard that Martin has a real allure to him, though I've never met him. But that's the word on the street about Martin.
The wizard. He does not like anyone to look behind the curtain. He does not like to be seen or heard. He's smart. He makes me take all the bullets. He pushes me out to do all of this, and he gets to sit home and count his money. It's really a great gig. But that special really caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting to be so touched, so moved, so emotional with the whole thing. Just seeing all the girls back, they're all near and dear to my heart, but they also represent something in my life. Trista represented something very important, not only for the show, but also just me personally as my first Bachelorette. My life was changing.
Right.
So I always, when people say, what's your favorite season? What are your favorite things? I get what people are asking, and I will give them that. There's highlights, and I know the highlights to hit. But really what hits me are moments in my life.
Yeah, so like what are like the inflection points that you can recall off the top of your head? Like Trista must have been like, wow, this franchise is a success.
Yeah.
We're doing Bachelorette
It was right
now.
before Trista. It was really Bachelor number 2, not Alex Michelle. Alex Michelle was good, but there was the summer. We actually started in the spring of 2002. Then the summer happened, and there was this crazy groundswell. And by the time we got to the fall, which was Aaron Berge number 2, I didn't. It was, Bill always does a good job of equating everything to sports. That's
sure.
what I do too. It was rookie year. I made it to the Super Bowl, NBA Finals, whatever. I won the Masters first time. I had no frame of reference. I didn't understand.
Right.
I knew it was big. I knew my life was changing, but I couldn't comprehend how because I had no perspective on what was happening to my life. I could just tell my life is now different.
Right.
And I didn't technically even mean for it to happen. It was this wave, and I was on this wave, and there was no getting off. And then Trista was a big part of that too. And Trista actually is our highest rated show from start to finish.
Really? I didn't know that. Interesting.
Yeah. Aaron Berge,
that's cool.
if I'm remembering correctly, which technically usually I am, I think we had 33 million viewers for the finale of Aaron Berge, which is insane.
Like no show gets that anymore. Like Game of Thrones was reported. This premiere was reported to have
6 or 7 million.
I think it was 17.
Okay.
But like that to me, even I was like, that's kind of small in my opinion. Like
I would question that. I don't think that's correct.
And
just kidding.
No. But just to your point, like 33 million is a number that shows don't get to anymore.
No, it outdrew the Oscars, it outdrew the World Series. I remember Sports Illustrated, doing the sign of the apocalypse was The Bachelor outdrew the World Series. And then Trista was our biggest from start to finish. Just
amazing.
Ratings. The ratings were insane. It was a different time back then, clearly.
Yeah.
as
Also,
far
reality
as
TV
television.
was new.
Yeah, there was, and the Survivor had been on. If you want to get into the real world and all that, the minutia of all that. But as far as the modern day network, it was Survivor and then us.
Yes.
And that was it. Survivor was really changing television, and then we came along, and then we were the number 1 show, and then a year later, Idol came around and stuff like that.
Right. And Survivor and The Bachelor both still here and both still thriving.
Still,
I mean,
me and Probst just still going strong.
Another Valley guy, I think, by the way.
Yes, yeah, he is. I played poker at his house a few times.
Oh.
Yeah, really good guy. Love Jeff.
He does seem like a great dude.
One of the most positive, just good human beings. I will say this, when I think loosely of all of the reality hosts, I like them all. Like all good people.
I think that you also do have to be positive for it to be successful because no one wants to spend a lot of time with someone who's negative, like
just an a-hole.
Yeah, or like a total hater.
Yeah,
it's and Simon Cowell didn't host a show. He was part
he
of
was
the
a
show.
character.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the same thing.
Yeah, Ryan, and then Dunkelman before we killed him off. Ryan was a positive force, and then but then
he still is.
The judges were always just the characters.
Yeah, they each had like their own lane.
Yeah, it's like The Voice.
Yeah, exactly. But to host it, you have to kind of like steer things down the middle, keep it positive, and keep it moving. Okay, so Trista's like, and you're like, wow, my life has changed.
Yeah, I mean, and also, again, I go back to my life moments. I was about to have my son when I first got the job. My son was 6 weeks old, Joshua. You want to know how long the show's been on? The show is now looking at colleges. It's wrapping up its junior year of high school. It's driving, and then my daughter. So we were pregnant with my daughter, and then she was born during Trista's wedding.
Oh wow!
So between Trista's wedding and Meredith's finale, it was December 6th. Then I don't know why we were shooting so late, but then mid-December we gave birth. And
wow!
So we were actually. My then wife was in labor the night of the final rose ceremony.
Oh my God!
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So your life really does map with this show.
It does, and then, and just watching my kids grow up on set, grow up around the show, and there's times where my life has changed, even for the bizarre parts of divorce and going through all that with certain girls. And I just talked to speaking of the special, was talking to Emily and Ashley Hebert.
Oh, cool.
They kind of caught the brunt of my divorce. And so it was very interesting to go through that and to get their perspective. They're like, we had no idea.
It was amazing seeing Emily on the show because Emily, first of all, I loved her honesty when she was just like, I feel like I'm like, I don't think she said failure, but like she wasn't living up to the other women because they were like more entrepreneurial.
Right.
But which is like her just being hard on herself. But she also has just like grown up so much. I mean, she's the mother of 4 now, but it was amazing to see. Like, I loved her season. I was obsessed with Jeff with 1F for reasons I don't even know why. And it was amazing to see her just like as, you know, a woman who's matured as you do over time. Like, it's just natural. But it was really cool to like just to see them all change and have them come back and everything.
And for me, that you just kind of encapsulated the whole reason why I got so emotional. I loved it so much. I actually went. They were all staying at the same hotel, and the hotel was actually by my house. So I actually got up and went and had breakfast with them.
Cool.
While they were getting hair and makeup and all that stuff, we just had this big buffet out, and I just went and hung out. And then later that day, before we started shooting, I walked in, and we were all, for some reason, we all ended up sitting in the master closet at the mansion, which is about the size of this room. So it's huge. But still, we all ended up in the master closet, which is where I used to sleep. Pro tip, because I never had a trailer or anything, so I would just go sleep in the closet.
Like when? Like on the first night?
First 2 nights, because they're so long, and they just go, so I'm to the point where I can't stay up anymore, and I would just go grab a pillow, and I would take an hour snooze while, especially in the middle of it. The Bachelor Bachelorette does what we call their mid-ITM. We're midway through the night. They take about an hour to either eat, we interview them and all that. So there's really nothing going on. That's when I go shut it down.
Yeah.
And then I come back when everybody's
interesting. You always can tell from that when that interview's happened. They're like a little sauced up. The makeup has run a little bit. They look a little tired. If it's a guy, he just seems like a little sweaty. It's really funny. You can always tell.
That was the moment. I walked into the house and all of the ladies were sitting there drinking wine and just talking about life, kids, women, the show, just everything. And it was this beautiful moment. And I was looking around the room and I'm like, we did this. We created this. And I love the fact that we were celebrating this.
Yeah.
And we celebrated the women, and we celebrated the show and all of them and what it's meant. And to that, I was very proud of that special.
Yeah, I really liked it. It was like just fun to revisit everything. And also, I just feel like the older seasons are like a time capsule at this point.
For sure.
It's crazy.
I mean, it is a snapshot of what was going on at that time in dating, in the world, and everything. And that's why, I always say that the show has remained so strong because it reinvents itself every season.
It really does.
Obviously, Hannah is not the same as Trista.
Right.
And no offense to the godmother of the franchise, Trista, but if we had just followed Trista for the last 20 years, she's now in her mid-40s with kids, and would anybody in college care about that? Probably not. But with Colton, with Hannah, with Becca, now we have this fresh group, and so our older audience stays with the show. But we're also kind of the new soap opera, like kids in college and kids even in high school love the show.
I know.
Because it represents you.
Totally.
It represents whatever is happening now.
It's funny. I was saying to a friend, I feel old with this season because I used to experience this show as like projecting myself into The Bachelorette. Like if I was dating these guys, and they all seem so young to me. Many of them are very young.
I have no idea how old you are, but I can only speak for myself.
I'm 33.
Okay, I can only speak for myself. I'm much older than you. There was a time when I was, 1 or 2 years older than the people on the show. I started when I was, 29, 30 years old when I started this. And some of the bachelors were right around that age. And so I find those are typically my better friends just because we relate to each other and we're at the same place in life. Now, Hannah really could be my daughter.
Yeah, I know.
And it's not that much of a stretch.
I know. She's great. I thought she had a great first night.
She did.
I was really impressed. I think also there was a lot of heat around her. Like, can she pull this off? Well, she could be back.
Let's be honest. We were all scared to death after the Final Rose special.
Yeah. So
we were all worried. I mean, it was a bit much. I heard Nick Viall talk about this, and he was actually really on point of. It was just a lot, and I don't think she was fully prepared for everything that was about to happen. What happened there, the disaster of what you saw at AFR, is also what I love about her.
I didn't think it was a disaster. I mean,
well, it's just the train wreck that is her. Sometimes she owns it. That is her. Like you're not. Yeah. It's also what you're going to love about her this season, but. Thankfully, night one, she came in firing on all cylinders, and I'm like, okay, there's our girl.
Yeah, that's
the girl.
I feel like she's probably likes being pampered and like being dressed. Like that's like her
she
element.
Does.
So
yeah, you're right.
I bet that helps. Like
I think it's a pageant thing.
Yeah, of course.
She loves, I don't know if people know Carrie Fettman and Gina Modica, who are my family, really. They've been with me since.
Carrie's been there from the beginning too, right?
Close. No, we had Gina, who's the makeup artist on the show. Has been with me since 1999. When I first moved to LA, we met at another job, Horse Racing Network, actually.
Oh, cool.
And I stole her. So there was somebody else on season 1. Then I brought Gina in because, well, Gina's better. And then also Carrie Fettman, same thing. Carrie, I think, came in for Trista. I don't think he was there for the first 2 seasons of The Bachelor.
Interesting.
So, and then he's been there ever since. And they are 2 of the loves of my life. They are ridiculously talented and good at what they do, but they're also just dear friends of mine, and we spend a lot of time together.
I bet. So what's it like for you when you're not in LA or in the LA area versus not in LA? What is a day like for you in production, and how many days off do you get per week?
It really just depends.
Okay.
It really depends on so many things. The Bachelor, the Bachelorette, who they are, how well I'm vibing with them, how much I'm needed on the show or can be used on the show.
Right.
And there's a delicate balance there, and that's the interesting thing with my job. Say you get Seacrest or Bergeron, they have a host-driven show, and the host has a role that will never change. You know, Ryan's going to do his intro. Ryan will do that. You know, there's these bits that they do. The Bachelor's not like that.
Right.
It really changes from season to season, and we have to be very cognizant of that and careful of not overplaying my hand and being very careful of where do I fit in with Colton? Where do I fit in with Hannah? And I can speak to Hannah because Hannah and I got along, and we had this very interesting relationship. And again, not to make myself sound old, it really was kind of a father-daughter relationship that we had. And I was there for her emotionally more than you will have seen in Colton. So you will see a lot more of me this season. And I say that now, not having seen the final edits. And that's
it can't be
thing.
done. I'm sure they're not done.
They're not. No, oh my God, we just got home. And so I know what I have shot. Like even night 1, we shot a lot more. There was a lot more stuff with Demi and Katie and I. There was a lot of other things I did. Some you just don't see them.
Right.
A lot of things we shoot are for, sometimes they're for air and they don't work. Sometimes we run out of time and we got to cram stuff in. Sometimes I will do things just for emotional effect or to kind of get something moving. And it's not even, we tape it, but it's not even for television.
Right.
And I know it. That's part of the, I wear a lot of hats. I'm a producer on the show.
You are?
I'm a producer.
I didn't realize that.
I've been producing on the show for, really, I guess not since day one. I have to say, really.
I'm happy to hear that. I thought you weren't, and I'm thrilled that you are.
No, I think
I was planning to confront you about it.
I can't remember and this is sad because it means nothing to me, but I think I'm a co-EP or an EP
cool.
on Paradise, and it's different. I don't know if I'm a co-EP or I don't know what it is for Bachelor,
cool.
Bachelorette. I don't know. I don't care.
I was going to have to talk to you about your agent if you weren't.
Well, I don't know. I just don't care because it's not going to change my life.
Sure. That's a great attitude.
I guess I could put it on my resume, but I don't think I'm filling out a resume.
Yeah, but at what point are you applying for a job in your future?
So I don't know if it's going to help me get a waiting job or bartending job.
I think you'll be okay, Chris. Unless you want the job in Paradise, maybe the competition would be stiffer, Right, to get if I knock off
Wells and Jorge,
Exactly.
But no, so I help produce the show, and it's a lot of really just rolling with the moment and being there. And that's why when you talk about how much do I work, a lot of time is spent sitting there watching and paying attention. And there are nights when I think, okay, I will be needed, and you're sitting there at 4 a.m. and then something fizzles out or something just doesn't go the direction that you thought it would. And so I don't enter that scene. And so there's a lot of patience and a lot of sitting around and just trying to be there.
At what point are you aware that someone in the house is like the villain, or like, for example, it seems like Luke P is developing as someone who is polarizing, disliked. It's insane to say that you were having too much sex and then you got a message from God in the shower.
Right.
So at what point, do you, as in your role, know that person is problematic or likely to be like a lightning rod?
Well, I think there's different types of villains. You're a fan of the show, so you get that. There's the flash in the pan villain.
Sure.
Someone
like a Chad.
Yeah, someone who does something, that shines bright and it burns out and it's gone. Maybe they're a villain. But then there's those villains that kind of arc. Those storylines that go weeks and weeks and weeks.
Like a Courtney Robertson.
Yeah, exactly. Or even a Rated R. For
Love
you
Rated
old school
R.
fans.
Justin Rigo.
One of my favorite moments is being in the Hilton in Istanbul and him with a broken leg in his boot running around. And we lost him. It's the only guy. I guess now there's 2. He was the first guy we lost, and then Colton.
We'll get to that.
But anyway, so it really depends. Luke is going to be somebody clearly who's going to have an effect on the show.
Yeah.
Because he has an effect on Hannah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the big thing is how much does the villain affect the Bachelor or Bachelorette? Courtney Robertson, great point you just brought up. Obviously, she's the woman that won.
Yeah.
She affected everything.
Sure. The famous water coitus, as we said at Grantland.
Possibly.
Possible.
Allegedly.
Alleged, yes.
Nobody knows what happened under those angry seas. But
I mean, going in the water is a veteran move. That's why you go to the water, because no one can know.
No microphones. No.
Yeah.
But Luke clearly is making an impression. He got the first impression rose. So he is going to make an impression on Hannah. Therefore, he's going to affect the show. He is going to be a pivotal villain, so to speak.
Right.
And then there's other guys that maybe, I think there's some other villains that are going to kind of rub people the wrong way. But
seems like ABC Always Be Cam could also be annoying to people.
Always be Cam.
Always be Cam. That's a great line, though. I will never forget ABC Always Be Cam. So shout out to him. He nailed it.
Someone who, and again, I don't want to give away spoilers, but if there is this category for swing, someone who's just across
like
the
spectrum.
Swagger? Well, no, I just mean like someone who's going to swing from really high after the final rose, the rap, tucking, then coming in, dropping the Nick Saban line. And he followed up, which, by the way, was going to be hard to follow up the rap on AFR.
I thought he
did it.
Yeah, I thought he did a good job.
It was cute. I mean, is he good? No, but it was cute, and it was endearing, and Hannah liked it. That's all that matters. But then to see his personality really come out and always be Cam is going to be interesting.
He seems like a total dork. Like, he does not seem like he's like the cool Southern guy that she's into, which I think is fun. Well, we'll see. It's gonna be
interesting to see what people think of him.
How do you feel about introducing 5 guys on AFR? Do you like that?
I'm torn.
Okay.
I'm a little bit torn. I get it. One, it fills television in a good way, and that's also what we're trying to do, is fill some compelling television on AFR. And I like it in that way. It tees things up. I don't know in the grand scheme of things if it really matters as far as the Bachelor or Bachelorette goes.
Right.
Once we get to the season, I feel like it's a big reset. I don't think those people particularly have a leg up for more than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yes, when Luke came in, when Cam came in, when those guys came in, she's like, hey, she knew their name. But after 5-10 minutes in the house of one-on-ones, all that's out the window.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
She has the opportunity to talk to everyone.
So I guess I'm indifferent. I like it for television's sake. Mm-hmm. I think it's a good scene to do for the AFR. I think after a while, again, you're going to have to make it fresh and get away from it because it's been done before. We roll out the mansion and we do the whole thing. So it's not like, what I love is it's a bit of a surprise. And it was still a bit of a surprise for Hannah. So when it's not a surprise, I think you're going to have to change it up.
Do the leads like it? Like, does Hannah like that?
I don't know. That's a great question. I don't know.
It seemed like Becca did. It also seemed like for Becca she was coming off such like a low. I mean, I will never get over that finale. It was just like
with Ari. Yeah,
it was riveting television.
It was incredible.
It was also the split screen was just ingenious. Like
it
was amazing.
Yeah,
I absolutely loved it.
Kudos to Rob Mills and Mike Fleiss. Rob Mills, who's our show guy at ABC and runs Unscripted.
Friend
at ABC.
Of the podcast.
Yes, I know he does more interviews than I do.
Rob Mills has his own podcast too on Sirius.
No, I know.
A radio show.
I'm not joking. First of all, I don't have a podcast. Rob Mills at the network has a podcast.
Yeah, he does.
I love Rob. We couldn't have a better champion of the show.
He's a true fan.
He is a true fan, and that's what it takes. Someone who loves the show as much as we do, making it as much as anybody. That's what you need, and he is a champion, and I love him for that. And if you know Rob, he's just awesome. He's just in his Van Halen shirt, 0 Fs given. That's Rob.
I think that he was responsible for air supply on the AFR.
Oh, 100%.
Just like completely insane.
Anytime you see a band and if you're under the age of 30 and you're like, who is that? That's Rob Mills.
Yeah, totally.
Yes,
that's
Night
Ranger,
Richard Marx. Yeah, exactly. But I'm a child of the 70s and 80s, big fan of the 80s. You get me going on John Hughes and all those movies and all the music. I'm all in. And so I love it. Rob and I are geeks when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah,
and Mike gets it too. Mike Fleiss, the creator of the show, and so I love the little nuggets, the little Easter eggs we throw in for everybody.
Yeah, totally. I want to ask you more about Mike Fleiss because I noticed he was traveling this season. I think more than usual. But first, let's talk about today's sponsors. All right, let's talk about this season. Yes. I noticed, first of all, that Hannah and one lucky guy are having a one-on-one date with the Boston Celtics.
Yes.
Terry Rozier and I believe Jaylen Brown.
Yes.
Were you present for that?
I was not.
Oh my God, were you pissed?
I was pissed because again, this is my life. We went to Rhode Island. We were in Newport, Rhode Island. That was our first set of travel. Well, let's see. Rose ceremony was Saturday night. Friday and Saturday. Friday night, I guess, we were taping the special,
Yes,
the reunion special with the women.
Rachel was out here for it. Yeah.
So Thursday and Friday,
End of March.
I had to stay, tape that. Then me, Ken Fuchs, the director, Gina, Carrot, we all got on a red eye and flew in and got there just in time to finish up. So it was a crazy week.
Huge bummer. Well,
so anyway, I missed it. I know. Of all the dates this year.
I mean, the Celtics are one of the most storied franchise in sports.
Although I have a bone to pick.
What is it?
Well, first of all, I'm not a Northeast guy, so I really don't care that much. I'll be honest. I'm a Texas guy. So.
Are you a Mavs fan?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a die.
Congrats on Luka, man.
I know, right?
Your future is bright.
He turned out to be. And so I love Mavs. I love obviously Mark Cuban, anything Dallas. I'm a Dallas guy, born and raised. And so I would have loved it if we had brought in like Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, or some, Paris, something like that. Bring in an old school legend.
Sure. I think Jaylen Brown will have a really good future though. So maybe you'll be looking back.
So
on
maybe
this.
in like 10 years you'll be like, that was awesome.
And Scary Terry, he's
that's
like
the way most
figure.
of our musical acts are. You look back and you're like, oh, Dan and Shay.
I know they're really big now.
Yeah.
I mean, also. The thing is, I give you guys a lot of heat for the weird private concert, which I would never want to experience.
I love it. I love the private concerts.
Why?
I just think they're stunningly romantic.
You do?
Yes.
So you're a very romantic person.
I'm a very romantic person. Yeah. I told you my favorite movies are rom-coms. People make fun of me.
You were saying Notting Hill is one of your faves.
Notting Hill is one of my favorite movies ever.
I absolutely
Pretty Woman.
love it. Yeah. So you're a Julia Roberts person.
You know what? You're right. I am. But
do you like My Best Friend's Wedding?
Of course.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, it's a sing-along.
Yeah, seriously. It's so good.
I'm all in.
Forever.
And I'm also a Cusack fan, so like Grosse Pointe Blank, one of my favorite movies. Yeah, I mean.
I also love that because it has a big radio plot, and I happen to love radio.
Yeah, I mean, get me into Almost Famous, which I think is also a rom-com.
Oh, interesting. Lady Goodman.
Yeah. High Fidelity.
Oh, that's a great one too. Have you ever read the book? The book is excellent too.
It is. It's a great.
Yeah,
thank you for saying that, Nick Hornby. Also, to go on this weird tangent, Fever Pitch.
Yes, I actually have not seen that movie. I could never bring myself to do it.
The original. So the American version is terrible. It has to do again with Boston, the Red Sox, and all that stuff, and they just destroyed it. The original is a
about
story
soccer.
About Arsenal.
Yeah. Oh, and you're an Arsenal fan.
Yes, I'm a diehard Arsenal fan. It actually, and so Colin Firth is in Fever Pitch. Go look
I've
up
actually
the
never
original.
Seen that.
It's
good.
good.
I need to watch
good.
it.
It's not great, but it's good.
I mean, I love an English TV show, movie, anything.
But yeah, Nick, I'm a big Nick Hornby fan.
The reason I brought up the Celtics, though, is because I don't remember Mike Fleiss tweeting out photos from dates while they're in production in the past.
Yeah.
Was that a conscious effort to build up Hannah?
No, it's a conscious effort, I think, to build up his followers on Twitter. I really do. I don't.
Well, success.
Yeah, there's no end game for us. It doesn't help us to reveal anything, but when you write the checks, you get to do what you want.
Sure. Has he always traveled with a show like this?
I
heard he lives in Hawaii on Kauai.
He does live in Hawaii. He's on and off, in and out of LA and Hawaii. The Bachelor's been good to him. But
Kauai is an incredible place.
It's one of my favorite places in the world.
It is truly amazing, and it's great. I mean, I hope you've been recently, because if you want to do anything after 9 p.m., you literally can't.
That's why I love it.
I know, there's nothing open. You have to stay home and just enjoy yourself.
Before the podcast,
wonderful.
Juliet and I talked about the fact that we are 90 years old. We go to bed. Yeah, so I love places
is a great time to go to sleep.
When it's 10 o'clock and lights are out, I'm all in.
Me too. I'll see you when the sun rises with all of the roosters.
But yeah, Mike dabbles with the show. Sometimes he travels, sometimes he doesn't. It just depends on what's going on. Really, the heart and soul of the show right now is Bennett and Louis.
Love Bennett.
Yeah, our executive producers. Again, another guy behind the scenes. There's so many people behind the scenes that don't get the due that they should. Bennett, Louis, Todd, Nicole Woods. These people that make the show really work day to day.
I went to the same summer camp as Peter Geist.
Peter Geist, another good one.
Yeah.
Really? I went to summer camp.
His sister was in my bunk, in fact.
Yeah, another, I think he's a co-executive producer on the show. I know, I get mixed up with the titles. We move people's titles around.
It's
instead
fluid.
of paying people, we give them titles. You know how it works.
Hey,
we're the same.
PGA will be mad if that's the case.
Yeah, we're the same as every business, believe me.
So Mike Fleiss, let's talk about when you had to call him to tell him that Colton had gone AWOL. Walk me through that phone call. What was that like? That's who you're talking to on the phone.
Correct.
Right?
Yes. Yeah, I was calling Mike, who
I noticed you had two iPhones in that moment.
I did. There was a lot. I did. I had two conversations going on because we had two. I think Rob Mills may have been on the phone with the other one trying to. So what happened was, to back up, jumps the fence. I thought there was a security guard on the other side because there was security out there when I arrived that night, but we had already cleared everybody. It was so late. We're in the middle of nowhere, so it didn't matter.
How great is Portugal, by the way?
Beautiful.
Love
Portugal.
Portugal.
We've been there several times
Better
now.
than Spain, in my opinion, for visiting.
I'm going to fight you on that.
Okay.
That'll be another tangent.
Okay.
But
so you arrive late.
We get there and jump the fence, and I.
What are you doing at the moment he jumped the fence?
I was chasing him. I was
no, but like before, like, are you watching?
Yeah. So
in the truck, or?
So we had so we're at a hotel. What we do is we take a room like this. We take 2 hotel rooms. We make that our production room. So it's the control room. So the director's in there, Bennett, several of the other producers are in there, and we're just watching, and we're sitting there for hours and hours and hours. And so I was there.
Is it boring or is it fun?
Both.
Okay.
A lot of times it's stunningly boring because a lot of times it's stuff it's never going to see the light of day.
Is this a work environment where you're allowed to drink on the clock?
Oh God, no. Because I couldn't. I really couldn't because I would just drink tea.
Sure.
Caffeine, because if you drink and then you're up, because that the fence jump took place. I don't even remember what time it was, but it was in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And then we went, because of what happened, went for hours. So I remember leaving there like at 3 a.m.
God.
So that's just a typical night. And so God, if you were drinking, you'd just be dead. And so chase Colton, can't find him. Really realized we weren't going to find him.
Mm-hmm.
We decided to scatter the cars in 5 different directions. There's a lot of forks in the road, and we're at this little farm town. And we realized I'm sitting here. Alon was still on the show, and Bennett, the 2 executive producers that were there at the time. And we kind of put our heads together, and what do we got to do?
Right.
We actually have to find this guy. Now,
right.
now, show aside, we have to find this human being.
Yeah.
Because we're kind of responsible for him.
He has no phone, no wallet,
right.
no money.
And so we call Mike and said, what do you want to do? This is what's happened. It's been about 20 minutes. We've lost him. He's like, give it another 5, send the cars out. You guys have done the right thing. He's like, but after that, you're going to need to call the cops.
Right.
Because you're going to have to find this guy.
Oh, my God.
And I'm thinking, oh, man, this is not good. Like, because it's one thing to have those moments where, say you're in the United States and you really have control of a situation, when, call the cops or something like that, you can speak to them.
You're familiar with, like, the law enforcement infrastructure of your own country.
But when you're in a foreign country, like, things can get lost in the interpretation, or so they could become a thing. You don't want to become an international incident, and that's what it could have become. And luckily, Colton got scared. He was hiding in a ditch. I actually shot a funny stand-up. It was never seen. I need to put it up on social media, where I went to the ditch where he was hiding, and then he said he heard a big animal.
Oh my God!
And he got scared and he
Wait,
jumped.
He
up.
was hiding in a ditch?
Yeah, so it was this road that was about as wide as this table, very one-lane road, and then he heard a car, so he decided to jump in a drainage ditch and hide from the car.
What?
And then he heard an animal, maybe in the ditch, and so he jumped out of the ditch.
Oh, my God.
And that is when one of our cars went by, and they saw him, and then they...
That's actually insane. I didn't know the ditch part.
And we got on a walkie-talkie, and, Bennett and Elon had walkie-talkies in, and they're like, we found him, and get over here. And so... we get in a car. We're like, can we run there? Where are you? And we're like trying to describe where we are. It was like trying to describe where you are.
It seemed like literally the middle
in a
nowhere.
cloud.
Yeah.
You don't know where you.
It's
like,
dark.
Even if they said we're whatever, like we wouldn't have known.
Right.
So they pin us, and we're like, oh my God, he's over a mile away.
Jesus. Oh, they dropped a pin. Smart.
So we got in a car, and it took us a few minutes to
athlete.
drive. The guy could move. So
incredible.
Yeah.
It sounds like perhaps he could have been in like the military if he's like stopped, dropping, and rolling into a ditch, basically.
Except he gets scared of small
animals.
Yeah, it's not good.
That is like the least surprising thing I've ever heard about Colton. That's hilarious.
That he shrieked. My guess is he shrieked.
Oh my God, that's so funny. I really liked that when you caught up with him, you
were out of breath.
You were out of breath, which was hilarious. But then I just loved that you immediately tried to steer him towards Tayshia and Hannah. You were like, well, you still have 2 other great girls.
Okay, but so here's the thing. First of all,
company man, I loved it.
First of all, I'm in pretty good shape. I was running a lot. It was cold that night. And for some reason, I don't know why, the driver, again, lost in translation, stopped a good quarter mile away from where Colton was. So I get out of the car and I start walking. Well, he's walking really fast.
Right. And he's a tall guy, long
So Alon's
legs.
like, dude, you got to go. And I'm like, crap. So I start running again, and another jog in my dress shoes. And I get up there and I'm like trying to talk, and it's cold. And I'm like, just winded. I'm like gassed. And at that point,
I loved it.
At that
I
point,
absolutely loved it.
I have to say I went tough love, because my sense of humor was kind of gone. Middle of the night, running through the country.
You seemed a little sarcastic, actually.
I was a little sarcastic because I was kind of done. Like there
also,
are.
It's kind of disrespectful what he did, right? Like,
well, there's times when, and I don't know if this is going to sound sexist, but there's times when you need to man up.
You can curse. I prefer cursing to sexism, honestly.
But and so there's times, and I just that was that time of like, but I didn't understand the situation, which goes to your other point. When I was steering him towards Hannah and Tayshia, I didn't understand the level of his love of Cassie.
Right.
This is where we were all a little off kilter, and this is why the season was a little wonky at the end, because we were under the impression that he really liked Hannah G. And that she was number one, and that Cassie was close.
Interesting.
But he led us to believe that was the case.
Is that because of their insane sexual chemistry? Like,
he wanted to mislead us in that way. Maybe to protect Cassie, to protect his relationship.
So you think that was intentional, that he was like trying to throw out like a red herring or like 100%. Misdirection?
No, 100%. He was trying to mislead us in that way. It's Colton. He also hid in a drainage ditch. He also ran away. I don't know.
That's fascinating. That's just like, I don't understand that train of thought.
Yeah, I just think it's just a young man, I think, doing his thing, and maybe.
Have you seen the show before?
It's a crazy situation. In his defense, it's a crazy situation. Everything's out of your control, and I think sometimes you feel like this is something I'm going to control.
Right.
And they all of them do this. They glom on to interesting things, of what they can control in a time in their life when everything seems kind of wildly out of control. So I think this is what he thought he could control, and he was protecting Cassie, and I think he thought he was going to cruise on in. So when Cassie broke up with him, all of us as producers kind of honestly thought, no biggie.
No big deal.
Yeah, like this is only going to reaffirm the fact that he picked the right girl. We're going to have this kind of dramatic night. Not a big deal. We got Hannah G. We got a happy couple. Done.
Important question.
We were wrong.
You were very wrong.
And
this is fascinating.
So that's why when I went to talk to him, they're like, go talk to him. He was really pissed. I'm like, God, he is really angry. I don't know if he's acting or playing this up or whatever, but I'm a little shocked that he's this pissed. And so when I'm walking behind him as he's about to jump the fence, I didn't anticipate this wrath and this kind of acting out in that way. I was just expecting him to turn around and be a little upset.
Sure.
His ego was hurt. His feelers were hurt a little bit, but not a big deal.
It's kind of funny you say his ego was hurt, though, because he was dumped so many times. He
was dumped a lot.
I think like the most of any Bachelor.
But that's why I thought not a big deal. And so when I caught up to him, I thought, well, I'll just steer him back to what's important, which is the fact that he has this great girl he's in love with. All good. That's when I realized I was wrong. We were wrong. It is Cassie. And now we have a massive issue on our hands. He doesn't even want to continue with Hannah and Kaylin. And he wants to break up with them, and he wants to go find Cassie at all costs. And I'm like, so talk about having to be fluid and having to follow a situation as a producer and stay on this. The show did a 180, completely changed in that moment.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. If you guys had thought it was Cassie, would you have flown her father out?
I don't. You mean before the fence jump, before the breakup?
Yeah, when he's there to like talk to her about how she's feeling. Because I think if I don't,
we probably would have done a lot of things differently. The timing of the date, she probably wouldn't have gone first before the others. You probably would have set it up to where he had time with her. A lot of things.
Interesting.
Would have been different. We didn't set them up. We didn't set them up to fail, but we definitely didn't set them up for massive success because we thought he was in love with somebody else.
Right. You want to like help guide him for what will make sense for the story
And even
arc.
if he did love Cassie, we really still thought it was a horse race, neck and neck.
Wow.
And it turned out it really wasn't.
Incredible.
Yeah.
How fascinating. Colton seems so weird. I haven't met him. I would love to.
He's a great guy, and I love Colton. Super good guy.
Everyone says he's very nice.
He is very sweet. He is amazingly sweet. Yeah, there's no other word for it. He's just a kind guy.
You don't need to name names, but was there ever a lead where you're just like, I don't care for this person. I don't want to be around them?
Charlie O'Connell.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
How come?
We didn't get along, and I like him now. And
That's a long time ago too.
Yeah, and I'm very happy for him because I know that he had some demons, and I'm okay talking about this because he has faced those publicly with alcohol and other addiction, and so I think a lot of it too was East Coast, Montauk guy, Long Island guy.
You've got a real Northeast bias. You don't like the Celtics. You just called him
yeah.
I mean, I'm from New York. I just want you to know.
It was a little oil and water.
Sure.
I love to visit you people.
It's a great place.
Yeah, it is. I love to go and visit, but I always love leaving.
Okay.
But
yeah.
You
like space.
He was at a different place in his life. And it was really struggling. I think behind the scenes, we didn't really realize the level of his demons that he was facing. And so we just didn't, and he didn't want really me around either. Like it was mutual. He didn't like me. We just didn't get along. So that's one of those seasons where I was very much behind the scenes and would do things with the women and stuff like that, but wouldn't spend a lot of time with him. And I think that was the one season I stopped even coming in during the rose ceremonies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a couple of times.
I didn't even
Yeah,
realize
we just didn't mix, which is fine. I mean, God, when you think of 15 and however many bachelors we've had,
32.
Yeah, I'm not going to get along with all of them.
33.
as you know, it's different. I have friendships and chemistry with some, and I don't with others. But I'm professional, and I do my job with all of them.
Sure.
And try to help them no matter what. Yeah, exactly. But obviously, I'm just going to blend in with some better than others.
In this second wave of the Bachelor and Bachelorette seasons, at what point were you like, oh, this is a different thing now with like Bachelor Nation and all the social media? At what was there
in the modern era?
Yes, the modern era.
Post steroids.
Yeah. After Barry Bonds,
yes.
all of that. When did you realize like, oh, we're in a new phase of this show now?
Man, I don't know if there was a moment. I just know that. I don't know if there was a moment. There wasn't a lightning bolt, but it's evolved. It's just been time.
It really has. It's kind of shocking now.
Well, when you think about when the show started in 2001, 2002, we were taping in 2001. There was no such thing as a blog. There was no such thing as anything on social media. MySpace didn't exist. None of that. Much less Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and all that stuff. Snapchat, and so you didn't have to worry about keeping a secret. Mm-hmm. There were secrets in the world, and which were great. I mean, now our national security secrets are out. I mean, there's nothing that happens in the world you don't know about.
Right.
So if you don't think The Bachelor's going to get out or American Idol or all that, of course it is.
Right.
That's just, if there's 2 or more people in a room in this day and age.
I know, it's how it happens.
It's out. That's just it. And that sucks, but that's just the world we live in. So, slowly over time, instead of trying to have private dates, now these concerts are public.
Yeah.
And we'll shut down a town. And part of that is fun, though. I love that. Now there'll be 5,000 people at a date.
Right.
Or we'll have a carnival in the middle of Iowa or something. So I like that we've embraced it to a certain degree because you can't fight it.
Yeah.
You have to embrace it.
I think the show has been smart in obviously now doing more like iPhone confessionals and just sort of like, it seems like in the last couple of seasons, embracing the culture around it a little bit more.
We'll throw some stuff against the wall, see if it sticks. Yeah. It doesn't always stick. I didn't love Colton's iPhone confessionals. I think
worked better in Hannah's premiere with the guys before they got to filming.
Yeah, I like that because you're getting something we couldn't otherwise get.
Yeah.
The Colton thing just felt lazy to me because we have cameras there.
He also seemed uncomfortable with it.
It was a good idea that didn't come off well.
Yeah, it's also sort of funny. Like you think back to when the real world would do that, like literally in a closet, and that was like so they would sort of like trick them into feeling more comfortable. I think.
Yeah.
But
when it's a true confessional, like you said, I loved the guys on their flights getting in because you're getting their true emotion of that moment. And we don't have cameras there. We don't have enough cameras to do that. You only have so much manpower, and so it's really just happened over time. And so. Yes, people are taking pictures everywhere we go. And we were just in Greece. If you want to get on the internet, you can see Hannah, all over Greece.
A friend of mine was on vacation in Amsterdam in April.
There you go.
Yeah,
we were. Yeah, exactly. And
group date in the square.
It's a small world. It's such a small world now.
Really
and with social media, it's even smaller. Before, something would have to go to print and be in one of the magazines, and it would take 2 weeks to do that. And people and us back then, they wouldn't really cut their nose off to spite their face. They wouldn't want to out us. They wouldn't do that. Now, this is the culture we live in where you want to spoil somebody's time. Like you can't screw people over enough. And I don't know why people relish that so much. What that says about us as a society, that people get up and eat, drink, and sleep to just crap on somebody's work. So, like, how can I ruin your day?
Right.
Like, what can I say that will ruin the end of the Avengers or ruin Game of Thrones for you or whatever? Like, how can I go on social media and just be a dick?
Yeah, I know.
It's a very interesting dynamic to our culture. There's a lot of good things that come of it. There's a lot of bad.
I try to go pretty spoiler free, but it's actually hard. Like, I mean, I obviously know that.
You know what's funny? I have no problem with it.
With the spoilers?
Yeah, I don't. No. I mean, what I mean by that is I don't see any spoilers.
Oh, right.
I really don't.
Well, you're probably not on Twitter all day. I sit at a computer all day, so it's a little bit harder.
I don't read, I don't even know, do people still do things like blogs? I don't know if there's a blog. But anyway, I don't read that stuff. There are a few podcasts that I listen to. You know most of them because I do love The Ringer. There's a reason I'm here.
Thanks, Chris. We love you.
Yeah. And this whole thing is a ploy to be on the Rewatchables. That's really all I care about.
I know some people. I can see what we could do.
But anyway, but the problem is when I listen to the Rewatchables, there's really nothing I can add. Everything that's said, I'm like, damn it, that's a good point. I wouldn't have even had that.
It's honestly hard to top Bill Simmons when it comes to a movie podcast. He's really good. I say that as more of a fan than an employee or a friend.
No, I hate Bill Simmons.
Because
he's so arrogant and cocky, but he's so good. He backs it up, and that pisses me off.
He's really good at
what. I want him to fail.
Also, he does the research. He's a hardworking guy.
No, I want him to fail.
Great guy.
I'm ready. When he falls on his face, I'm going to be there. No, he's great. But anyway, we digress.
We do indeed.
But anyway, no, times have changed, and here's what I don't mind. I don't mind 90% of the spoilers and the stuff out there. People are taking pictures. And I love that most of it is just passion. Yeah. People love it. People love when they see me on the streets. They want to talk about the show. They love seeing Hannah. They're just excited. That's fine. I just wish that people wouldn't go out of their way to spoil the ending.
I agree with that.
Only because I just want people to see it. I want people to experience it. It's just like sitting down to watch the Super Bowl and someone go, hey, Patriots win by 5. Last second. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to watch it, but it's like I wish you hadn't done that.
Sure.
So I just wish that's the only thing I wish we could control. Don't spoil the very ending. The rest, go to town.
Sure.
Debate, talk about it. It doesn't bother us. And none of it really affects the ratings overall.
Oh.
So from a business standpoint, it hasn't affected my job. I just know that some people in Bachelor Nation don't want to see it and they bump into these things.
Yeah. Well, I think the good thing for the show about Colton's season was that it shows that like the script kind of doesn't matter as long as it's compelling and authentic.
Yeah.
And secondly, there were a lot of rumors out there about like what happens at the end, and it had literally nothing on actually watching it. It was riveting television.
Yeah. Well, and I think if we do our job, it doesn't matter. And that's why I say it doesn't affect the ratings. If we have a good season, like Hannah's season is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It is
really?
phenomenal.
Are you being honest, or are you just saying
No,
that?
100%. I'll look you in the eye. It might be one of our best seasons of The Bachelorette ever.
Great.
It's the best producing job we've ever done. She might be one of the best bachelorettes for many reasons. And then just the guys. We had this great group of guys on every level, from good to bad, villains to heroes and all that. It's just incredible. Like, it's incredible television. I can't wait for everybody to kind of watch this unfold. And it gets good really fast. But my guess, it will probably be our most successful Bachelorette ever.
Oh my God!
Well, in the modern era.
Sure, in the modern era.
It's not going to beat Tristan. Nothing will ever beat Trista.
What do you consider before that the most successful Bachelorette? I think there's a clear answer.
God, was it Emily? Probably Emily's season was really highly rated. Ali Fedotowsky's was extremely highly rated as well. Probably Ali.
It's hilarious that her husband looks like Frank. Just absolutely hilarious.
Looks like Frank.
The guy that she did not end up with.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Girl's got a type.
Yeah, she does have a type, right? She really does, yeah. So Allie was highly rated. Emily was highly rated. And off the top of my head, I'm really good with ratings. I am psychotic about, like, I know the ratings from the shows today.
Wow.
I'm a student of the game, so I watch what's going on. And
I consider Caitlyn very successful as well. Although I've heard that the beginning with the Brit versus Caitlyn thing was something that will never be repeated.
Well, it already was. I mean, that's the thing. People forget we already did that.
You did?
Yeah, we did that. We had 2 bachelors. Brad Womack and what was the guy's name? I forget. Another guy.
I don't remember either.
We started with, and that's funny because we caught so much crap for being sexist and doing this, and you'd only do this to women. It's like, well, no, actually, we did this already, and we did it to 2 guys.
I don't care. I loved it.
I didn't love it. I don't want to do it. And so what's funny is when we did that, Mike Fleiss and I are the only 2 that still are around from that time when we were really producing. We did it, and we looked at each other. We'll never do this again. This was a horrible idea.
Why was it bad?
We'll never do it again. I don't love it. I don't think it works in a lot of ways. I get the reason we did it because there was this split in Bachelor Nation, but there's always a split in Bachelor Nation.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's incumbent upon us to make a call. Like this season with the Hannahs. Hannah G, Hannah B. Make a call.
No question. Hannah B.
Yeah, make a call. Hannah B is
Hannah G can't carry a show. She would have been on it more if she could.
Well, yeah, I think she's going to be fascinating, and I'm sure we'll see her in Paradise. But I think I know Hannah B gives us unbelievably dynamic television.
I'm really excited. I wanted her to be the Bachelorette from a while ago, so I'm excited about it.
She's in it, and it's funny because she's a slam dunk in a way that people, and this is what I love. I love shows where people are skeptical, people question our sanity.
Mm-hmm.
People are like, Colton? I'm never watching again.
Yeah.
Colton's the worst choice. He's the worst bachelor you could ever choose. We had that. We had a ton of that.
The only truly bad bachelor, in my opinion, is Chris Soules. Like, that's the only one where I'm just
really?
That
wow.
season
I thought he was a
sucked.
good. See, I thought Chris was a good reason of why I thought he was a throwback.
I was just bored. I just found him so uncompelling.
But what I love about the show, and this is where the show started, was find a diamond in the rough. And without our spotlight, this diamond would never be seen. That was the idea of Aaron Berge, the banker from Missouri.
Right.
That was the idea of Chris Soules, who's in the middle of Iowa, very successful guy. Without us, not finding anybody.
Sure.
I mean, I went to his house.
Him and Whitney, though, like least realistic couple ever. She just had a baby. Congratulations to her.
Yeah, that is great. I went to the Field of Dreams.
You did?
I did.
Congratulations, man. That's great.
I listened to y'all's podcast. I realized none of you guys had been there. And I'm like, wow, this is something I actually have on them. It was a moving experience.
I've heard that.
But this is one of the, and I will say, to digress, one of the cool things about this show is I get to do some really cool shit.
Yeah, like what's the coolest thing that you've gotten to do as a result of being the host? Whether it's from traveling or being famous?
I'm a sports guy.
Yeah.
And so I've gotten to do some really cool stuff sports-wise, like the Celtics thing. But early on, I forget whose season it was, but like Mike Fleiss and I went one-on-one at the Garden in New York.
Cool.
We were there for a Mavericks game. Mavericks-Knicks. After the game, we got the court for like 45 minutes for our date, and they were upstairs in one of the suites doing interviews. And Mike and I got to shoot hoops all night.
Amazing.
I'm at the Garden.
That's incredible.
We were in Barcelona at Espanola, one of the teams. And soccer, we got to take over the entire stadium.
Wow.
And I had two of my soccer buddies, one I played with in college, one in high school, were there. So we just went out and played, that kind of stuff I love. I've been to several Champions League games. Like we were in Munich, and I went to see Bayern Munich play. And
cool.
Barca, and so stuff like that. I love that kind of stuff.
That's awesome. That does sound really, travel seems great.
The travel is a blessing. You don't get to do it with the people you would choose to do it with.
Sure.
These aren't
your family.
It's not my family. It's not my best friends. I do bring people with me from time to time. I'll have my friends meet me somewhere. We'll go to a game or something like that. But it most of the time does not work out, and I'm there by myself. But I try to embrace it. Like you think of, shooting at Ernie L's vineyard in South Africa, or going on,
awesome,
or going on these safaris.
That must have been Emily's season, huh?
Yeah, it was Emily's.
Or Brad,
Emily and Brad.
Brad.
Brad's season. So just running through my head, it's like I have 1,000 great memories of the travel.
That's awesome.
Of what I've done in my life, and it's only because of this show.
Sure, and that is really cool.
It didn't used to be a travel show. We never used to travel.
I know, and now you can go wherever you get the best deal.
It really was Charlie O'Connell's season that changed that. It was Aruba.
Oh.
Aruba was the first place that said, hey, come for not only the exotic dates, but stay and do 2 weeks. Then that was kind of our thing for a while, was we'd travel, but we'd always come back to L.A.
Right.
Then we went to Aruba, and we stayed. And then we thought, hey, we can do trade outs. We can actually, Warner Horizon thought, you know what?
Smart.
We can save a buck.
Yeah, seriously.
We'll send them to Istanbul.
We'll pay for the flights. You just take us.
Exactly.
Once we get there, it's free. One place you want to go that you haven't been yet?
We've never done Australia.
Oh.
I don't know if
it's too far. Also, I feel like they don't have the great deal.
Right.
They don't need to do it.
We went to the Maldives, South Africa. You can't tell me anything's too far. There's
Maldives
nothing.
Looked amazing. I would like to go there.
It's fine.
Oh, wow.
No, I'm just kidding. No, it was stunning, but I will say this.
Boring?
It's so hard to get to.
Right.
I mean, go look at a map at where it is. It actually is exactly halfway around the world. You when you're there, it's equidistant. You can go one way or the other.
Right.
And I think there are other places.
I remember Blake being like, I need to get out of there immediately. I'm on this tiny island.
Well, we were on an island that was a mile long and about maybe half a mile wide. It was very small. What's
the biggest disaster that's ever happened on the show that was not seen? Like something just went horribly awry.
Well, and on a serious note, we had a car wreck.
You did?
Yeah.
Where?
I forget the island, Saint somewhere.
Oh.
Sean Lowe's season.
Oh wow, is everyone okay?
Yeah, but and this is where we have lived and learned. But there was an accident. But one of our executive producers kind of got banged up, and at the time she was pregnant.
Oh my goodness.
So really scary, horribly scary for
Cassie?
all of us. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
She worked on Dating Around, which I love.
Who I love, and yeah.
Have you seen Dating Around on Netflix?
No.
Oh, check it out.
Is
it's
it
interesting.
good?
It's so different than The Bachelor. It's another dating show, but it's super different. It's just about a blind date. And that's it, kind of. It's interesting. It's really different, but I like it because it's so different.
Cassie, who's one of my dear friends, I love her, unbelievably talented woman, grew up on the show, and I watched her grow up, is the reason I am ordained.
Oh, my God.
Pete Scalatar, who was also our executive producer on the show, started dating Cassie. They got engaged, and they are the reason that
amazing.
I got ordained, and I married them. And then Ashley and JP were at that wedding.
So you married them.
And Ashley and JP were asked later, they're like, well, you guys are getting married on TV. Who do you want to marry you? Who's your officiant or whatever, rabbi? And they said, well, we just went to the wedding and we love Chris. Obviously, we love Chris. He's a friend of ours. Can Chris just do it?
Wow.
And I was reluctant and said no. because I did want it to be a joke. I never wanted the weddings to be a cocktail joke, and I'm serious about it and want them to have their moment. I didn't want to take away. And as soon as
You're
we
so
figured,
romantic.
well, as soon as we figured out a way that I could be their friend and be the host, because I had to host the show, and then like run up, I was like, how does this look? So Martin Hilton and I actually had to sit and wrap our head around how do we make this work to where it is serious and it is sweet and romantic.
Interesting. Did you marry Sean and Catherine?
No, Sean's dad.
Oh, right. I remember that.
I hosted that.
They're my favorite couple, probably. That's still together.
They're great.
He's
just such a dad now.
It's hilarious.
He's such a dad. I love Sean. He's just got a great sense of humor.
Did you guys know that he was going to pick her? Because that, as a viewer, came so far out of left field.
No.
I had no idea.
And that's why the show, I think, is so fantastic and why it works. Whatever you're doing and whatever you have been doing clearly doesn't work because you're single and you're on the show. Sean is a great example of just falling into the same trap of you saw some of the women he was choosing. You're like, okay, these are the same girls you've been dating from the same places. And he actually he came close to getting rid of her several times.
Wow.
And we were like, dude, give like just one more week. And then ended up, he just had to get out of his comfort zone.
Who tells him one more week? You or
well, we don't
producer?
tell anybody anything. You just have to. You sit with them, and as producers, we're not just pushing buttons and these people aren't robots. We're actually sitting with Hannah, and we're talking through her emotions and talking through these people, and we're really confidants and best friends as well as producers. It's a really interesting line that we draw. And people say, well, you just cast the crazy people or you want to keep the crazy person. And really, it doesn't behoove us to do that.
I think if you watch Colton season, you know that's not true because none of his top 4 were particularly crazy.
Yeah. No, it really what helps us is you want to create a relationship. At the end, if you're just trying to keep all the crazy, that can often be a cancer on the show and be disruptive and kind of screw up your end goal, which is to have this relationship.
Right. That's interesting.
So it's a very fine line. We have to be very careful as producers. That's why we get really close to these people because you are really going through this emotional time with them while you're trying to entertain and create a show.
Who had the hardest time making decisions at the rose ceremony?
Ever?
Yeah, ever. You can name a few.
I mean, Hannah, Becca, like you can go through. They all do. There's a lot of revisionist history.
Yeah.
When they get off the show, you just interviewed Nick. I'm sure Nick's the same way. It's like they get off the show and it's like, I guess thinking about your little league career.
Sure.
Yeah, I hit 10 home runs in one game. It's like, well, no, you didn't. So they all think about, how great they were and how much power they had and how decisive they were.
Yeah.
Like, no, you weren't. And I knew it was her the minute she got out of the limo.
A lot of them do say, like, I knew the first night or whatever.
Yeah. Maybe they were on the spectrum and maybe they were on the radar.
Sure.
They weren't the one.
Yeah.
And I can honestly tell you, I won't out anybody because a lot of them are married now and have kids together. But a lot of them.
There's no way Des was like, Chris, that's my guy. There's literally no way. He was barely on the show. Although I always liked him. And
well, that was one of the craziest breakups. I mean, the guy she was really falling for. Brooks broke up with her like a week before the proposal.
Insane.
We really thought that show was over.
The weeping that happened was just insane.
We were, again, at St. Somewhere. We're on an island. And I had to go sit with her at the end of a dock.
Yes, I distinctly remember it. It looked horribly awkward.
It was so hot. I just remember sitting in the sun. I also remember things for weird reasons. I remember my hottest moments. And that was one of the hottest moments where I'm just sitting there and I'm like, how long do you think she's going to cry? Because I have to sit here till is appropriate. And I'm just baking, just sweating. And now I'm crying. Brad Womack, another one in South Africa, was one of the hottest days. Ali Fedotowsky's proposal with Roberto.
Oh, yeah. That was in beautiful Tahiti, if I
Bora
recall
Bora.
correctly.
Yeah, they made us hike up this mountain.
Oh, my God.
And so we got out of the water.
A lot of them always seem really hot.
It was hot. It was so hot. And Roberto is a sweater.
Yes,
he's a big sweater. And so by the time we got to the top of the mountain, it was like someone dumped a bucket of water on him.
Incredible. Chris, thank you so much for coming.
Is this it?
I mean, I could pepper you with questions for a lot longer.
I feel like I got off so easy with you.
I mean, you want to keep going?
I just thought there was a lot. I just figured I would really get hammered by something. I don't know.
I mean, I don't want to ask you mean questions.
Because maybe I'll come back.
Hopefully you'll come back. But also, I mean, is that as a host, you don't want to be mean to someone.
No.
I like to ask the tough questions, but I
think there's a great way to be, and that's the way you're very good at what you do, which is why I came here today. But I do the same way. You got to walk that line. People talk about my role on the show, and it is being sometimes I'm the dad, sometimes you're the friend. You just have to read the room, and you figure out how can I get what I need? And being so
Yeah,
black,
I mean, like,
I'm not so black and white like I was when I was
also,
a young
like,
man.
you mentioned you got divorced. Like, should I like hammer you on like how hard was it to go through to be the host while you got divorced, and then people
it was
rumors
great.
about you, and like, I mean, I don't know.
I know. I've been there and done that.
Yeah. What are you just gonna say? It's not true.
It's been the last 8 years of my life.
Yeah, I know. So what's the point?
Exactly.
Also, like, I don't know. I care about work. I talk about this all the time on podcasts. It drives me crazy that these people don't have careers. I'm just like, get a job. I think it's cool to have a job.
It is cool to have a job.
And I don't understand why.
You should come talk to the people on our show.
Oh my God. Actually, I do want to ask you about that. How do you feel about people coming on the show just to like launch a career as an Instagram influencer?
I'm fine with it.
You are?
Yeah. I mean, well, here's the thing. Am I going to sit here and say that everybody is 100% sincere for the reasons they're on the show? No, of course not. I'm not that stupid. We had 30 guys on the show. Not all of them were there for the quote unquote right reasons, but that to me is part of what the show is. It's a microcosm of the show of dating. It's a microcosm of dating in the real world and trust me, I date, so I get it. You meet somebody. Are they using me for my money? Are they using me for my fame? Do they want me to post things on Instagram? Do they,
Hope Lauren's listening.
Oh, yeah. We've already had these fights. It's okay. But no, it's like that's the stuff that people really go through. If Hannah's meeting somebody, is he just trying to, sleep with her? Is he just trying to whatever? So these are things you have to
wonder about guys no matter what.
Of course. And so that's the thing. And so, and to me, like say it's The Bachelor, am I just going to go for the hot model?
Right.
Like you would here in LA? Well, that comes with some issues because probably
good luck to you.
Yeah,
guys.
good luck on the depth of that. You know. So, do you care? Are you just going to go for the shallow? She's hot, or he's hot, or whatever. Look at his abs.
What about someone like Demi, who is great TV, was good to have on the show, obviously was never going to win, and now will have a long, relatively, I would say I give her 3 to 5 years in Bachelor Nation of like being a character.
Yeah. Well,
are you happy to have her, or are you annoyed?
I don't begrudge anybody who goes after the show and makes a career. You look at Jade and Tanner. I mean, I think their life is created now by what we've given them.
Sure. Ashley and Jared.
Yeah, Ashley and Jared.
Evan and
Nick,
Carly.
Evan and Carly.
Ben Higgins, my beloved.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in Colton's life now, we
see how long that one lasts.
We changed their lives.
Yeah.
And, do I wish that they would remember that sometimes and be maybe a little more grateful because they all get, a year later and they're like, they think that
they're like showing up for a reunion. No, thank you.
Yeah. Well, no, they just think that, all of this is them now.
Right. And also, I bet everything comes with a price tag afterwards. And beforehand, they're just happy to be there. And it's not. I mean, obviously, clearly, the only reason that you were on Dancing with the Stars, it was like, we found you and we grabbed you out of obscurity. But likewise, the reason I never begrudge anybody, we have also used them to a certain degree and we've created a show. Sure.
I make a lot of money. I have had a great career for the last 17 years. On the backs of these people. So if I can help them in any way, if they ever need advice, which I've given plenty over the years, if I can help promote, I will be the first guy in line. I think it's just mutual admiration. And if I could help them go forth and make money, I wish that more of them would not let this change their lives.
Right.
And I give that advice a lot, which is why I don't mind saying it publicly is, after the show, let it enhance your life. Take advantage of some of the opportunities, but try to not let it burn too bright. Try not to let it change everything about you.
I think Becca's crop of guys, more than any Bachelor or Bachelorette season, seem to be living that motto the least. They seem to be just head first into the
And what happens is that when it becomes a lifestyle, you're no longer just taking advantage of certain situations and profiting off of it, in a good way. It then becomes a lifestyle. When it becomes your lifestyle, it seems great for a brief moment because again, these people have never had celebrity. They've never had notoriety. They've never been known by anybody other than their family and a couple friends. Now, when Blake walks in a bar, people know who he is. When Nick Viall walks in a bar, people know who he is. There's only one reason. It's because they were on our show.
Sure.
We made them famous. We made them popular, which is fine, but that is really hard. And there's no book and there's no rules of guidelines on how to do that. And a lot of them get eaten alive and they allow it to happen. It's on them. You got to make better decisions because when you make it your lifestyle, it's like drugs. It really is. It's like a drug addiction. It becomes very hollow and very empty.
You're addicted to the attention
too. And the highs, it becomes harder to get high. And the highs don't last very long.
Sure.
And then there's the lows. and the lows get deeper. And so it really is like an addiction. And for these people that are just tasting fame for the first time, and it's exciting, and I get it. And I don't begrudge them for doing this. I watch them and think, man, just be careful. That's my cautionary tale, is be careful, because when it becomes your lifestyle, it really can eat you up.
They should move to the Valley like you. It's easier to avoid that way.
I'm Valley adjacent.
You're Valley adjacent. You're right.
I'm deep.
They're not even in the heart of it. I mean,
trust
Colton,
me, you don't see me around.
Colton, Cassie, and Caitlin all live in the same building. That's crazy.
That is bizarre.
It's a bad idea.
That is not a recipe for success, is it?
No, I believe Colton will be the first to move out of that, if I had to guess.
And
I would say
I didn't even know that. I don't even know they all live together.
Do you interact with these people outside of what we see on TV?
Yes and no.
You're friends with Brad Womack, aren't you?
Yeah, it's funny. I just got a text from Brad. Brad's one of the sweetest, most generous human beings we've ever had on the show. Ben Higgins, another one I talk to a lot. You know Ben.
Love Ben.
Ben's a friend of mine. Back to Andrew Firestone days. Bob Guinea.
Bob, he was a wild one.
Yeah, and there's a lot of the women I text, and we keep in touch a lot as well with advice. Just, some of them reach out and say hello. So and it just depends. And when I travel around, if I'm in a city where one of them are, I'll call them up and take them to dinner. It's like every time I'd be in New York, there was my New York crew, Ashley and JP, and Andy Dorfman's in New York now. I always see her when I'm in New York.
I've always liked Andy because, again, she had a job.
Yeah, she's one of my dear friends. Caitlin, one of my dear friends. JoJo, I love JoJo.
Another Dallas person.
I love my Dallas beats.
Sure, I can tell. So you're really into the Mavs and the Cowboys. Dallas. And the Stars? Do you care about hockey?
No, I didn't grow up with it. Okay. To be honest, I grew up with like minor league Dallas Blackhawks, the Chicago Blackhawks, like fifth division down. So by the time we stole Minnesota, the North Stars, it didn't mean anything to me.
You're just over.
I mean, I was cool when Madonna won. I was like, great, but the next day I could have cared less.
Wow.
But if the Cowboys win, that changes my life.
I mean, I hope that happens for you then. It's been a while.
It's been a hot minute.
23 years?
It's
24
been a
years?
hot minute. Yeah, it's been a little too long.
Chris, will you come back to discuss specifically Paradise? It's a whole other thing we didn't even get to.
It is a whole other thing. Yeah, we didn't even get close.
I know, and I love Paradise. Will you come back?
Yes.
August-ish? July?
Next time I need a haircut, because I'm actually, the reason I came in today is I piggyback. I stack things when I come to LA, and so I'm
Makes sense.
Immediately going to get.
You make it sound like you live like in Texas still.
So
when I'm here.
Soon enough. 4 weeks.
Okay.
I'll probably need another haircut.
Okay, great. I can't
and the
wait.
timing works out because we'll be heading into Paradise.
Yeah, I want to talk about Paradise then. Chris, this was so much fun.
Thanks for having me, and I
so
appreciate
much.
it.
Yeah, it was great. Continue to watch Chris on The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. I'll be back on Monday with Lauren Zima, in fact.
Oh, boy.
My next guest.
Be gentle.
She definitely can handle me better than I can handle her. And
she dodges better than I do.
Yeah. And thank you again to Cape Line